is that some nations or enterprises and also individuals are more successful than others. The easiest answer for us, of course, is Austrian economics, but this would be too simple. So this is why we have invited scholars from all over the world and up to our podiums to discuss this question.
Wettbewerbspraxis ist immer noch bis heute ein Gebiet für Spezialisten, für Ökonomen, für Rechtsanwälte, Lawyers, für Politiker, die sich auf dieses Feld spezialisiert haben. Aber wenn es über Wettbewerb hätte man auf der Straße reden, dann sagt man, what the hell is this guy talking about? Also, wir brauchen, das ist die Konsequenz aus dieser These, eigentlich eine Kommunikationsstrategie und ich begreife, liebe Frau Dr. Kroll, diese Veranstaltung als ein Teil einer Kommunikationsstrategie. Wir müssen den Mann auf der Straße erklären, warum Wettbewerb, was sind die Vorteile, was sind die Nachteile und warum werden bestimmte politische, rechtliche und ökonomische Entscheidungen getroffen. Wie geht die nationale Politik mit der europäischen Politik, mit der globalen Politik im Wettbewerbsbereich um? Brauchen wir nicht eigentlich sehr viel mehr globale Competition Policy als die wirkliche ist? The first step is the most important one, and I hope that this is not just the first step, but one among many.
Thank you very much, Professor Kretschmann.
First of all, if you have a tax cut, does it increase spending? Well, it certainly does some things to spending. It gives people more disposable income. On the other hand, it creates a budget deficit. To the extent it creates a budget deficit, the government has to finance through bonds.
From a consulting perspective, I have to acknowledge that a lot of our project teams we are working with, for instance in Slovenia, are more eager to achieve results in the consulting projects than we would expect of project teams, for instance here in Austria, in bigger companies.
I want to thank our partners and sponsors, which is most important for us. Otherwise, it would not be possible to set up such a conference and to discuss the question why competition matters. For us, it's actually natural, and we don't even think about it. It's something, it's a God-given thing. To compete is natural, but for many people, especially the youth here in Austria, competition is something that goes not further than sports, not further than football, or not further than soccer or ski racing. And that's basically it. But our entire life is competition, and this is what we want to explain, why it is so important to compete, why innovation drives us, and why competition among nations, among enterprises, and among individuals is so important and is a driving force.
I am very happy to be here. It's on hallowed ground. You can imagine Mayor, von Wieser, and Barber, and all the recent costumes like Schumpeter, von Wieses, and others have been here and teaching here regularly. The Keynesians typically through management of demand for government spending or the budget deficit and the monitors through the money supply. But none of those paid much attention to the tax rates and the way the effect of tax rates on incentives for production. They claim that an entrepreneur is one who brings other people together in order to build a single productive organism. In order to do this, Marshall believed that entrepreneurs must have a thorough understanding about their industries and they must be natural leaders.
We have, yes, a great deal of innovation, but we also have increasing calls and concerns about so-called economic inequality, the haves and the have-nots. And of course, in the United States, despite 25 years of almost continuous economic growth, we now have calls for more taxation and more regulation by two of the three leading presidential candidates. So it's very appropriate that we have this discussion about lessons once learned, lessons forgotten, and now perhaps the need to relearn those lessons again. For young people today, under the age of 40, the economic conditions Professor Mundell has described don't exist in living memory. They're in the history books. If you're under the age of 40, you don't remember sitting in a gas line. You don't remember the United States, 21% interest rates, 12% inflation, 10% unemployment. And many of those numbers were almost as bad in Europe at the time.
Chile was a complete disaster. We had a bankrupt socialist economy. We almost had a civil war trying to prevent Chile from becoming a separate Cuba. And then we decided to make a radical move towards free markets. You create a middle class, you create constituencies in favor of the free market reforms that even a social democrat government really cannot change. Chile has now an income per capita at purchasing power parity of $15,000, meaning the richest in per capita terms in Latin America. So we made it very long lives, and all the system will go bankrupt very soon, especially the European ones, because the European ones, the French, Italian, and Spanish systems, as the social security system of the US still provides around $80 billion a year to the general budget. This is spent by government. Exactly. But that will disappear in 2010, 2012. And at that moment, you see the crisis will be there. And regrettably, countries sometimes react when they face the abyss. I foresee in 10, 20, 30 years that these enormous unfunded liabilities of the pension and health system will originate huge fiscal deficits.
Which is probably the number one in the priority is the commitment and the convincement for success. They could transfer their skills and talents into the success of whatever, because the research group is the company. This is very important. With these factors, I'm convinced that if you mirror that to the current European situation, you could be successful also with manufacturing, with developing industrial processes and realizing these industrial processes in your city to convince people, to convince the Austrians that technology, that research is something important, which is not important in the sense that it's interesting for the people who are doing that, but also for the economy and for the country and for the social system. There is progress if you do it geometrically and take the coordinates that begin in the 80s and now, but the slope is not to my satisfaction. So I think there's some awareness now that internationally, but for Austria there's a lot to do, still a lot to do.
In 1970, I gave a talk at the Bank of Belgium talking about this. You're encouraging the governor, the vice governor of the bank. Why do we need a European currency? Who needs it? We've got the dollar. And there's this strong reaction. You didn't need to have a European currency.
I think competition policy has to balance two challenges. First, interfere too strongly, that is even in cases where markets themselves would be able to cure a problem. On the second hand, is too lenient, that these infringements to effective competition are not prosecuted.